Tonight's episode it was supposed to be about personal responsibility in our sphere of influence in the world, but we had a guest caller who began confronting the other guest callers about their personal way that they are interacting on social media, and you can listen to the rest. It basically has to do with inclusiveness, social norms, and caring about others that are different than ourselves, which is something I've done my whole life.
Our own personal sphere of influence and how our statements among our personal friends and within the scope of our local community and also on social media affects others. The other day, I found a tongue-in-cheek quote. It was kind of like a comedic GIF, GIF, a picture. It was Martin Luther King. He was nailing the 99 Theses on the door of the Catholic Church. It was a picture of him from the Reformation, and it says, "I've got 95 problems, but one of them is not earning my own salvation to heaven." And the gist of the cartoon was that the Lord has saved us by grace. God sent his son on the cross to die for our sins, and that we don't have to worry about salvation because the work was done by Jesus. So, of course, I'm just putting up a comical thing on my social media, and somebody has to take it the wrong way. And I'm about to read you guys information was as soon as I can get into my studio queue because I just got home from work. So the debate got twisted. Nobody could take what the Martin Luther King cartoon at face value, that we're just all saved by grace, and none of us have earned our salvation, and no matter how many good works we have done or how good our obedience has been, that we cannot attain salvation on our own because it was done through the blood of Christ. Now we have Suzette on the line, we have Albert on the line, and we have Don on the line. So what I'm trying to say here is that you hear a lot of Republicans talk about personal responsibility and how all your actions influence others based on your own personal responsibility. And I've tried to do that in the last 5 years, even though I had one thing that was stopping me from attaining complete joy. So I'm just going to read what somebody wrote on this particular post. So once again, the joke was Martin Luther was nailing 95 theses on the wall of the church. He said, "I've got 95 problems, but earning my salvation ain't one of them." So one of my friends wrote, "What are you talking about? Since she's not a Christian." So I explained it. And so then my other friend, Eric, wrote, he had 95 problems, and the Eucharist truly being the Lord Jesus Christ's body, blood, soul, and divinity wasn't one. He had 95 problems, and the perpetual virginity and sinlessness of Mary weren't one. In other words, he was knocking Protestant churches because they don't put Mary on the top of the deity list. And then I wrote back to Eric, if it wasn't for Martin Luther, we would all still be Catholics. Not to say that's a bad thing, but the Protestant church is more uninhibited and full of grace. Then he went on to say he was complaining about substantiation. I hope you guys can hear me okay because my phone's been acting up. He was complaining about substantiation. If a Christian believes that when you take the bread and wine of Jesus at the altar, it turns into the actual flesh and blood of Christ. So he wrote, many millions of people actually believe in transubstantiation, but truth is not dependent upon nor ratified by how many believe in its existence. The truth is true whether we believe it or not. Truth is objective, not subjective. Like the physical hunger of God's people was quenched by him in the desert, by his gift of manna from heaven, so does we feed our spiritual hunger with his Son, the Word of God incarnate. He multiplies the loaves of bread. He gives us his body and blood as true food and true drink. Unless we eat his flesh and drink his blood, we have no life in us. Those some people that believe in transubstantiation that you mentioned are Catholics. The Holy Spirit, as the author of the scriptures, is the only one who can 100% accurately interpret what he himself wrote, meaning God through other men. Jesus Christ is the Word of God who took on flesh, the author of life, and he is alive and has been, will be with his church until the end of the ages. He is the head of the church and he leads it and feeds it. Luther's mental illness, this is what my Catholic friend wrote, has led to 42,000 plus splinter denominations, each which relies on different meanings of Scripture. Depression and pain, apart from the knowledge of their true purpose, reason we experience them, often result in blindness, which in turn leads to many conclusions that are contrary to knowable truth. So somebody this intelligent, who's actually a member of my gambling outpatient treatment, the problem with him is that he relapsed gambling and he refuses to come back to the class. He can't acknowledge his sin. He won't face what he's done, so he just ignores everybody. And I'm just putting one joke up in social media about being saved by God, and this is what I mean by personal responsibility. Either somebody doesn't accept my belief, or they can't joke around with me, or they have to fight it. Just like my Baptist friend in LA who had to sneakily send me messages on Joe Biden, like these cryptic videos that he sends through my Facebook Messenger. He won't post it on my page, but he wants me to read it. So with that, I'm going to bring the host in, one by one. Hi, Suzette.
Good evening, Jane. How are you?
I'm good. I'm bringing the host in. Go ahead.
Glad to see you made it home safe.
Yeah, I had to hightail it from West Duluth to East Duluth, and I made it home within 3 minutes. Did you hear my introduction clearly?
Yes.
Did you hear my introduction clearly?
I did.
Good. Don's on the line now, and we also have Albert and a guest caller. Hi, Don.
Hello, Jamie. Hello, Albert. Hello, everyone.
Hi, I'm just pulling all the people in now. So I also wanted to mention that our own personal sphere of influence, has to do with things that we're interested in and what we like to share with others. For example, I like foreign policy. I like talking about foreign policy. So that's definitely, I don't need to influence people about it, but I like discussing it with people. Albert, how are you doing tonight?
Not much.
Are you doing okay? Don't forget to send a picture. All of you guys send a picture of yourself with the polo shirts I sent you, so I can create a new marquee for our show. And with that, I'm going to bring in the guest caller from the 917. This is Jane from Political. What, Albert?
Huh? Oh, me? Oh, no.
I'm good.
My name Hotap, H-O-T-T. That's my name. How are you doing?
Fine. What's your name, sir?
Hotap.
Oh, we've had you on the show before. You're a good caller. How you
thank you.
doing, Hotap?
I'm doing okay with the world that's gone crazy with all these profit endeavors going on that are beyond control.
I remember you talking about religion once, Hotap, and how your traditional religious friends were always trying to influence you. So I guess I didn't want to start out with a religious topic, but I used it as an example because I was trying to make a joke on social media about stress and salvation, and it turned into something completely different.
Yeah, they take the stuff very seriously, even though there tends to be limited evidence and limited cognitive development on the deeper subjects. But that's the comfort zone. It's comfort food.
Right. And I wasn't trying to knock my friend personally who made the post, but like it just kind of irks me that like there's okay, I live in a city of 85,000. There's at least 30 denominations here, you know, whether it's Presbyterian, evangelical, non-denominational. You know, like, why is somebody going to argue about a joke from 5 centuries ago about something Martin Luther did way back in the day? Like, he broke out from the Catholic Church and he suffered for it. Like, why does somebody have a problem with that as a part of our history? Anybody can go now, whether it's Hotap, Suzette, Don, Albert, anybody. I'm just wondering
Really quickly,
why
with
people
weak
are so
positions take
uptight.
offense to critiques and jokes. If someone has a weak position, they're not going to want jokes and critiques because, it loosens their foundation. If you have a strong foundation, you can joke about something. People can joke about me, whether it's true or not. I laugh unless, of course, it's something over the top hateful. Then I respond calmly. But I don't do religion, but I have respect for people that have the need for invisible deities and all that stuff.
Right. Suzette, do you have a comment?
Well, I don't know the person, so it's hard to say. But a lot of times people on social media will throw things out there in order to get attention. So, you know, they get likes or whatever it is that they get on Facebook. I don't know. I forget. But, yeah, and so I think he was expecting people to say, yeah, you know, right on, this and that. But then he does you, and you came back with a joke making light of the situation, which was, you know, so what? And like Hotap said, he just takes himself too seriously, and many of the people do on there. It's like, well, you know, if you're not going to like it, then shut up. You know, like my comment as far as, you know, hit that button or shut up. And it's like,
yeah, I don't care if they want to. I don't care if they want to make like a comment like, well, I never agreed with what Martin Luther did when he posted those reforms on the wall. Like, I wouldn't have, and, you know, that's fine, but for someone to go into like a huge religious dynamic about transubstantiation, which really has nothing to do with him trying to depart from the Catholic Church. Like, all he was saying is that the Catholics charged indulgences for people's sins. Martin Luther didn't think it was right that the church was trying to force the peasants into buying their salvation. Like, if you pay 20 rubles, then God's gonna, you know, forgive you.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know what I'm saying? Like, why couldn't people just take it at face value?
because they want to be upset about something. I mean, that's all I can
Right.
think of. And then, you know, a lot of times that's how it goes. It's people will put something out there and somebody will get offended or not like it. It has nothing to do with anything, but they've got to be offended by something that day. I don't know.
Yeah, and then I was talk. I work now. I've worked in 2 treatment centers this year, and I started working in a new treatment center about a week ago. It's a Native American run shelter, and 99% of the clients are Native American. And he was talking about how there's like been 700. I think it's a little high, but he said there has been 700 murders in Minneapolis this year in the aftermath of the George Floyd thing. But he's way off. I just looked it up. It's only 65. Only 65 people have died this year.
I'm sorry, died or just died or died by the cops?
Well, in the last 5 years, there's been 3 high-profile police killings. No Castillo, Dante Wright, and George Floyd in Minnesota. It looks like, let's see. Okay, I'm just going to say what I'm going to say, and then I'll tell you the stats. Okay. 65 people, there's been 65 homicides in Minnesota, including person to person and top to person and blah, blah, blah. But what this client was telling me is that he was trying to portray what his concept was of the city and how people react based on the influence of the Floyd murder. But when he was distorted in his information because he didn't have it all right, he thought Kim Potter, the cop that accidentally shot the guy at the traffic violation, she used her gun instead of her taser. He thought she got life in prison, and she hasn't even had her trial yet. But what I'm saying is that people have a distorted mindset because they're not looking for information that's accurate. And that's what is causing a lot of the problems.
I agree.
And all I'm saying is that people who have influence are often incorrect. And I don't exactly know if my point is making sense.
No,
But anybody can feel free to jump in now.
Our stats are provided typically by the same system that does the killing. So we get stats from police. Well, the police often are the ones that are doing the abuse of the victim. They provide the stats to the media. The media tends to have an illicit relationship with police and DAs, district attorneys, because if media wants certain footage, if they want to get on certain crime scenes, they have to be in a good relationship with law enforcement. And if they want the tips on court cases, they have to be in a good relationship with the DA. So there's a direct contradiction. Media is supposed to be fair and unbiased, etc., but they're tipping with the people that are the main tips.
Well, I just remember in my journalism class, the first thing they ever talked about at UCLA was going on. If you're a reporter, you have to call the police station for the police beat and find out what's happening in the city that day.
Yeah.
So, yes, there can be, now that we've had all these police killings and social tension, I'm sure there's major distortions in the way information is being distributed. Don, you're being kind of silent. We also have another caller from the East Coast. It's a 267 number. I think that might be in the northeast part of the U.S. I'm not sure. Let's see who it is. Who's calling from the 267?
Hi, I'm actually calling from Philadelphia, PA. This is my first time on your show. I was just reading the title and the little introduction. So I just got on, so I'm not really sure exactly what you guys are talking about other than what I read in regards to the social media effects and everything that's going on in our lives.
Yeah, I have family from Philadelphia, and actually my son's sister had been killed there. She was a student from Temple University, Agatha Hall, and I have connections to your city. We were generally talking about how, as individuals, we're always trying to make an impact either in our community, with our friends, in our social circles. And the topic tonight is, how much of an impact are we making? Even when I have a long-term example that I discussed at the beginning of the show of how I just put a joke out on social media about salvation, and how someone got real serious about it and decided to include a large paragraph about Christian theology, and then how things get morphed and distorted, and then we kind of like shot up into the perception of the Minneapolis police, because I live in Minnesota, and we were just kind of having an open topic discussion.
Okay. Okay, well,
So you can say whatever you can say whatever you want. Like, it's pretty open ended at this point.
Well,
Okay, I'm sorry, go ahead, sir.
No, go ahead. You're the guest. Go ahead.
I probably would like to listen a little bit more, but just for me to just kind of speak what's on my mind, I think, you know, the life that we used to know is like no longer existing. You know, I feel like we don't have the freedom to speak our truth anymore. I think everything is being portrayed as a racial issue with everything, and you know, I just think that the United States right now is in a real crisis. You know, we can't say anything, you know, without offending somebody. Everybody should have the freedom to say what they want to say, but unfortunately, that is not the case. And I think a lot of this political game is turning people against each other. And, you know, I just think things are crazy right now. And to
I agree with you.
My condolences to you in regards to losing a loved one here in Philadelphia. Philadelphia is really crazy right now. We are literally over 435 murders at this point. It's really ridiculous.
Yeah,
You know,
my son's sister was killed in 2015.
I'm sorry, say that again?
Oh, the sister was killed in 2015 by an angry boyfriend. But she was a senior at Temple University. But I didn't realize Philadelphia had that many murders this year.
Yeah, we are literally like about 435. We said 400 about 2 weeks ago.
That's terrible.
It's
Don, would you like to weigh in at all?
Well, I just wanted to mention that the religion and was Hotap, what was his name? I'm sorry.
Hotap. It's an Egyptian
Hotap.
like
It's Hotap.
Yeah, I remember you from before. Hotap. But one of the things is that yeah, there's a lot of confusion about religion. A lot of this is about religion and the confusion and crisis that we're in. And one of the things is that Martin Luther had, he was the proponent of the many divisions that came out of him breaking from the Lutheran Church, or him creating the Lutheran Church.
The Catholic Church.
The Catholic Church. And breaking off the Catholic Church, which is an abomination, by the way. The Anglican Catholic Church is one of the 13 abominations that will be one of the first to be destroyed in the apocalypse. But those divisions are causing a lot of the harm that we're doing to ourselves. And transubstantiation is meant to join us together, but but yet religion in itself is tearing us apart. But the main thing that I wanted to, I've always said, is that when we as a people come together, we can be much more than we are. And that God is not meant to be understood, but yet they're using concepts that are contradictory. God, God is not supposed to be understood.
Well, he did send revelations. I mean,
Right.
Revelations have occurred. He doesn't want us to be unknown to him.
Right. But the thing is that he cannot be understood, so we do not need to go through all the rigmarole that causes stress to try to understand something that cannot be understood. So, we are.
I agree with you on some terms, but I would like to make a preface, and I never got the caller's name from Philadelphia. What's your name?
My name is Tasha. And I do want to kind of comment on what he said after you speak.
Sure. I want to give Tasha, John's on the air, so I want to give Tasha a recap. And then, John, we have Hotap on the line who's called the show. We have Tasha. Tasha didn't hear the whole lowdown that I had a discussion with Eric about transubstantiation on Facebook, so we kind of got into the religious realm, and then so she missed that, and then we were talking about media and not getting. We get filtered information from the media, which throws people off. But go ahead, Tasha, say what you got to say, and then I'm going to pull in my other co-host, who's a regular.
Okay, well, in regards to religion, everybody has their own personal belief, and whatever person believes in, that's fine with me. Like, everybody has their own choice and free will. So, I can respect the religion, even though I may not agree with it, but everybody has the right to choose their practice, whatever that they believe in. I'm okay with that. What I'm not okay with is what's going on in the United States at this particular point in time in regards to the things that are happening that are affecting all Americans that are in particular, a lot with my people of color, with the immigration situations, the way things are being done. Like, I'm not happy with it at all. They're trying to take our rights away. In the meantime, in the inner cities, murder rates is going sky high. It's ridiculous. So, in regards to religion, everybody has they have the right to choose to believe and follow what they want. You understand what I'm saying? Because if you believe it and it helps you make you a better person, then that's you. I'm not going to knock nobody for what they believe in. Everybody has their own truth.
And National Public Radio, who I've listened to for 25 years, they're one of the culprits because even though I love the programming, they're always, in the last year since George Floyd died, the last year and a half, they have to classify every topic and every discussion by race and racial labeling and racial solutions, and they can't see the forest through the trees. Now, some of the programming is excellent, but other ones they're just working too hard to define it. And whether it's women's rights or sexual abuse, it just gets extremely frustrated. And I'm a so-called liberal. So I'm wondering if anybody else has picked up on that. Suzette, Don, Albert. John, you're in the queue in about 30 seconds.
Oh, thank you.
Okay, so everybody's on the air. Feel free to talk, but just keep in mind we have about 8 callers on the air right now.
Well, there's nothing wrong.
Okay, go ahead. Anybody can talk.
Things under the racial umbrella. America is built on racism. Native Indians theft of their land, black slaves. So having that umbrella is actually American because that's what America is. division by skin color, division by so-called race. The fact that it's being discussed more openly now sometimes may seem over the top because it makes us all uncomfortable to look in the mirror, but in reality, America, Europe, most of Europe, especially Western Europe, are racism.
And if you believe in predestiny, God's predestining us to be where we're at. We're not supposed to be surprised by all these murders and killings and hatred. This is predestined. On the other hand, if it's been free will, then this is what's supposed to be happening at this time. Resurrection, revolution, whatever you want to call it. These are all things that are supposed to be happening now, and I don't have a bit of trepidation that we are going through what we're going through for a reason.
Right.
Doesn't a similar argument have been used during Nazi Germany? Germans could have said, you know what, Jews and blacks and LGBTQ, you're being burned or you're being gassed, but guess what? This is just a sign of the times. And the same thing could have been said during World War I, World War II, the Vietnam War, the Trail of Tears. So if we justify the invisible God deity for what's going on and say, see, this is just how it is, then there's no point having discussions about solving anything because everything is just a part of the invisible ghost plan.
But like the topic says, we're here talking about our topic on salvation. We don't need to do anything to be saved for our salvation. We don't need to do anything.
That's actually not the topic, John. The topic was that I put up a memo about what Martin Luther said. The topic is about personal responsibility and our sphere of influence to our neighbors, friends, and our larger circle of social media.
Well, I'm a lobbyist. I help make laws. I do other things for people, for the citizens, for the little man, if you will. And so that's what I do. My sphere of influence is to create a strong family, to make sure that everybody does what is right, whatever that is, and let it go. Let God. And that's right. All I can do is be the strongest person I can be for mankind. So my sphere of influence is extremely strong. However, I cannot take away from some people who may not have that same strength or will to help his fellow man. I've been a coach for youth athletics. I've done homeless. I help the homeless. I do everything I can to make sure that other people are able to live a quality life as best I can. But I cannot complain about what other people do because that's what they do.
Okay, well, you're kind of like contradicting yourself. If you say you can't complain about what other people do, but in the same breath, you say you try to help people.
Help people.
You say that you went into like the political realm. Okay, go ahead.
No, I work both sides of the aisle. I am a moderate who, when I do my political work, make sure that I have both sides or all sides in the conversation. What they decide is the populist vote in this particular democracy. But I do, there is what I think, my opinions come out in a way that makes sure that I include other voices, and I always try to walk in other people's shoes. I've never been poor. I've never had problems. I've lived a blessed life. But I cannot complain. When I say complain, I cannot speak badly or try to proselytize someone else unless it's to make them
focus on, or give someone else a chance to talk, please.
I'm just going to say that I think that this media and our government is supposed to be we the people, but I think they're the ones influencing the divide in our country. And you can see it in the media and the news, one-sided bias reporting to turn people against each other, whether it be on the right or the left, depending on the news station that you listen to. And then you have social media on top of that, censoring certain conversations. And so that creates division as well, because, people want to debate or whatever, or put information out there that is credible. I mean, our own government websites that we're supposed to seek information from, and then when you post it, they take it down, social media. And so, you have a lot of misinformation, disinformation, and a lot of division going on. I mean, right now, you have government saying that you have to mandate their vaccine, or you don't get to go to work, you don't get to go to restaurants, you don't get to live your life. And so that affects all communities, because right now, a large portion of the Black community is unvaccinated, and that's their choice. For whatever reason they don't want to be vaccinated, fine. I don't have a problem with that. They do them. Same with white, same with everybody else who doesn't want to get vaccinated. But they're being punished for that. And, I think that's wrong. And so you start to sow divide, because people start turning against each other as far as, you're unvaccinated, you want to kill people. I was like, that's not true. It has nothing to do with why I'm unvaccinated. I don't want to kill anybody. But that's what it's turned into. You don't care about anybody, you want to murder people. Okay. So, I mean, and our government is perpetuating this, our president at the moment, and governors. I mean, it's sick. It really is twisted. I mean, people are being denied organs that were on the donor list, and saying, if you're unvaccinated, we're taking you off the list. How does that work? I mean, that would be a comorbidity, I would think, if they needed to have kidney or something. So why would they take the vaccine if people who have comorbidities are not supposed to, because maybe they might have a side effect? I don't know. It's just really, it's the government, the media, and it's wrong, because I think if they just stayed out of everything and reported what they were supposed to report, do what they were supposed to do, that we wouldn't see as much division as we're seeing right now.
Well, I just want to say, in regards to being a donor, the Red Cross, they actually had put out a statement. They can go into their website. I don't know if they retracted, but at one point they stated that if you had the COVID vaccination, you cannot donate plasma, which is blood, and you can't be a donor for any type of organ. That's what they initially stated. That
right.
if you had the vaccination, you couldn't be a donor.
Right. And yet, if you're I'm saying if you need a kidney, if you're on the list to receive a kidney, so the next kidney that comes in from somebody that just died, it's a match, that person would receive the kidney. They've been on the waiting list. They went through all the the pre-surgery, requirements that they had to go through, had their blood work, had their testing, all that. So they're on the list, at the top of the list, ready to go. So if somebody dies in a motorcycle accident, whatever, they're going to get their kidney. But if you're not vaccinated, we're taking you off the list and putting you as inactive, so you don't get a kidney now. So you can die now because you didn't get vaccinated, so we're not going to take you. So they can either take the vaccination and take their chances. Yeah. So you can die from the vaccination or die from not getting a kidney. I mean, what kind of choice is that?
Well, every few years throughout history, whether it was the Salem witch trials or war on terror, now the vaccination, COVID-19, to be more specific, the elite on top identified through their corporations and analysts different ways to put scare tactics into us. Not that there aren't valid things to be afraid of, because COVID is a serious thing. However, Ebola, etc., has a much higher death rate, but those victims are Black and African for the most part. So I think the term anti-vax is a trick because many people are not anti-vax. We all know that vaccinations have saved countless lives throughout a portion of history when we discovered how vaccinations work. What many people, such as myself, are against participating for free in a global experiment and being bullied and forced and teased on social media and by neighbors if you don't comply with the Salem witch trials dogma. And this is all for profit now. Think about that. These vaccination companies aren't saying, we love humanity so much, all the money, half the money, we're going to donate. No, it's for profit. They own the patents and trademarks. Thank you.
Exactly. I agree 100%.
I was told that we just got a memo at my new job that if you're not double vaccinated by November 1st, you can't come to work. And our own Political Gravity radio show had a show removed on YouTube because we did it on Maurice Hillerman, the founder in our country who established many vaccines, like for smallpox, measles, chickenpox. And because John said on the air that he wasn't going to get vaccinated, and there was some rebuke, YouTube removed our show from the air.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that.
Yeah, it was the YouTube. Blog Talk Radio doesn't care.
When did that happen?
That sucks.
Yeah, we didn't even say anything. We talked about the history of Maurice Hillerman, and it was a very informative show, but yet they chose to use it against us.
When did that happen?
About 3 months ago. I had it posted about 5 months ago, and it was removed about 3 months ago.
Okay.
Wow.
I just wanted to know because the censorship that I'm a journalism major. We worked at the LA Times, Jen and I worked at the Herald Examiner, and I was helping with some of the editing at one time at the Herald Examiner, and I had things that I had taken off for moral and censorship reasons because I knew we would be censored. But Walter Cronkite, Dan Radley, those were some of my the people that I respected because I respect virtually no one but myself. But I respected those people because they always reported just the news. But yet now with social media, I would never ever be on social media, mainly because it makes people think. It makes people do things that they would not normally do. So whatever is on social media, the bullying, the taunting, things like that, shaming, those things are beyond my realm of understanding, that people would put themselves in those positions. So, whatever you're talking about right now is completely foreign to me because I can't understand why people would willingly volunteer to put their personal, private information out in the public when the main thing that the First Amendment gives us is free speech and privacy, the right to privacy. And those things I think that are being bastardized today.
Hey, John, many of us use social media because it's a way to reach potentially millions of people with a positive message that you have. The downside is that most of the social media is pretty fascist, and they use these fact checkers who must be psychos themselves to, if you post something that has 99% truth and there's 1.1% on your radio show or in your post that may be questionable, your entire page could come down, your group could come down, you get bullied, you get warnings, you get stress. But some of us still put up with the stress in order to spread a message that we hope other people will at least reflect on and have their own dialectics.
And I let those people have their opinions, and I do not partake in them, because the 1% is doing it for immoral, personally egregious reasons, and the other 99% just want to hear themselves talk. So I don't respect anybody who's on social media.
Well, Pat posts every single event of your life on there.
And
So,
that's believe me, and she
right,
knows,
and she
she
can
knows
do
how
that.
much I dislike
That
her.
is your, it's Don's wife that posts every event, including all the NAACP events that do positively influence people. I'd like to hear from Albert or John, because they haven't said anything yet. Calling Albert, calling John.
Yeah, I'm here. I was just getting an update on some COVID. So how is it going, James?
Well, you said COVID, so now YouTube won't post the show.
Well, I'm just trying to get other people to talk, and everyone have a fair shake.
Yeah. No, I'm at my bro's house, and we're cleaning up some stuff, and he's conversating with me. So, anyway, if you can catch me up with what's going on, I'm sorry. I've been interrupted.
Well, we're talking about the same, similar stuff. I don't think we have time to do that, John. Just try to pay attention. Whoever else would like to go, please go.
Yeah, I know. I understand. Just understand. I'm at my brother's house. We're selling a condo. He's going over all the piping and the this and the that at the moment, and so I was listening. However, he was giving me some information. We're trying to sell a place for $700,000. So I'm sorry that I lapsed, but he was going over details. But going back to the situation
We
earlier,
understand, John. It's mainly about our own sphere of influence, how we influence others in the community, personally, or through social media.
right. Well, I was going to say in earlier conversation, one of the things I'm having to deal with in relationship, and that is there's a certain point where everyone has a past. I have a past of, of marriage and of 10, 12 different, people I've dated, girlfriends, some serious, some not so serious. And people that you run into, especially in my case, an attractive person, they have their circle of, marriage, it's just people they've known, people have died in relationships. And the point is there's this certain time where you just have to say, I'm all in to go forward. Like most people in a relationship, they go, I'm going to go in one step, you go in one step, and you go two steps, and you go two steps, and it's kind of like, oh, there's a mistake here, I'm out. I'm backing out. Or I'm only giving as much as you're going to give. And there's a certain point where you just have to say, fail, win or lose, I'm all in. And because that's the only way things work. And if it's a bad deal, you just walk away or you pull out. But the point is, every day you don't just go, well, I'm in, 100%, oh, and they're 50%, okay, now I'm backing up. You're just going all the way. And I think what's happening in community, and especially with the racial division and the COVID division, the vaccine division, is that people are going in and out. And you just can't do that. We just have to, as a group, say we're all humans, we're all Americans, and we make things work. And that's the only way it's going to work. And if we're constantly looking back at who's on what side of the political divide, it's not going to go anywhere.
So do you think that person that's going in and out is because they're being influenced by outside sources, and so that's why they can't make up their mind whether they want to hang or go? I mean, because the topic is being influenced. You know, if they influence anybody at all, but could it be that person's being influenced by outside forces to where they back off, and then once they're with you, they feel comfortable and they're back in again until they go out and about and they're back out? Could that be?
Well, in a relationship, it's more, I think, personal, or we call it ego. We want to be right, or we don't want to compromise, or we're selfish, and we're counting pennies, we're counting, how many crayons I got and how many crayons they got. Am I getting what I want? And so both parties have to come to an agreement of it's not always going to be 100% both ways or 50%. I'll give you an example. So say you're in a marriage and you go, well, I give 100%, they give 100%. Well, they get cancer, right? And they're in the hospital or they're on the tube and you have to take care of them, and they're not going to give you 50% or 100%. And you're not going to do them just because there's 5% of a person there in a bed. You just deal with it. And there's other times where it's like having kids. If you give, and they try to give what they can, and sometimes they can give more. But on the political scene, it really comes down to the 1% get what they want. And the other 99% have to fight and wrestle to get the scraps that they can. And it's very Illuminati, because that means 99% are struggling, 99.9. And you look at that, I'm not being conspiracy, look at the mathematics of people dying from COVID. It's 99.997 or 96 or whatever. And then you take that 6 and 9 are Illuminati numbers. It's exchangeable, as above, so below. So what does that mean? It's all 66666 or 999. Right. So I'm saying it's all working with 9s and 6s. And you look at like the Biden administration just 2 days ago, they said every deposit over $600 they want to look at. Why 600? Why can't it be 5? Why couldn't it be 7 or 8? It's got to be 6. Why 6 feet apart? And with a mask on. That's a witch's circle. Well, and you can go on and on down the line. It's always got 99.9% effective. You hear that your whole life. Why is that? Well, because it's not 100%, but 9 is the highest number, and 9 is the highest number the only number you can flip to a 6. So you can call it conspiracy, but the point is, it's the 1% that dominates, and that's very elitist. And they divide the 99% of us. They divide us by class and color and religion, and it works every time. Easy to control. Divide and conquer, right?
Brother, most of what you're saying, I think, to me sounds accurate. However, to then take it to the 666 does infuse some of the religious dogmatic thinking. Why couldn't it be secret society symbolism? It doesn't have to be religion, or why can't some of it just be coincidence?
It can be. I can only tell you this, that, and I study numbers, and part of it is because as I was going along through life, it hit me. I'm 5'6" and 2/3. That means I'm 66.66 inches tall. True. For a while, about 2 years ago, I stopped. I usually about 145. I started to, I didn't watch what I was eating. I was busy working. And my weight was just naturally 136. 136. And I wasn't trying. It just happened. And there's a bunch of other things. My dad died when he was 66, and birth dates and all kinds of stuff like that. And I just started studying. I worked at the 99, and things were 99.99 or 99.9. And it's like one day I was like, I looked at it, like, turn it upside down. And you see so many things that were in 1969 or 1999, the Matrix came out. I do a whole number study, But the point is, I'll throw three quick ones at you, and that is you got to have a social, you have to have a bank account which has a router, and you have to have a federal ID number. You have to. If you're going to be a U.S. citizen. Those are all 9-digit fields. You fill it with nines, you turn it upside down, and 6666666. I'm not saying that's the mark of the beast. I'm just saying it's the way the universe is designed. 60 seconds in an hour, 60 seconds in a minute, 60 minutes in an hour, 2.4 hours in a day, that's 366 days in a leap year. It's all 365 or 366. Disney Club 33, Masons, all that stuff. We can go on and on. Tesla said, understand the 3, 6, and 9, you have the keys to the universe. So it's a universal blueprint. You can believe in God or not. But that's now it's created on the 6th day with carbon number 6. Perfect woman growing up 36, 24, 36. It's like ingrained in our universe.
In my community, it's 36, 24, 40, but I guess you got the 36, 24, 36. No, in the hood it's 36, 24, 40, bro.
And they all got curves, and it's a circle. It's a 360, and then you get the pyramid, it's 90 degree, and then 45. It's all this mathematics. So, but the thing is, I'm at a point now. If a person doesn't believe it, it's okay. It works for me. You can't force knowledge. You discover, and you embrace. You have to embrace it for yourself. And a lot of it's a person's value system, and that determines the politics. So in other words, it doesn't matter. I can argue politics all day long. If your ideology as a Christian is to give and blah, 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 and that tends to lend towards socialist or communist ideas. We're all brothers and sisters. We're all common. I can't tell someone, hey, capitalism is the way. They're going to go, this is greedy and evil and this and that. Because the value is. It is. But the problem, and on paper, socialistic, communistic, Nazis were national socialists. It makes perfect sense. The problem is, when you add human greed, it becomes a system that's so easy to control everyone. It's so, you just compare all the China, Korea, Soviet Union, and on, Cuba, and you compare it to capitalism. Capitalism is, free society is known for excess, fat people, gluttony. Communism is known for people starving and dying of hunger.
Well, that's not a very good defense for capitalism. Gluttony, greed, foods that have lots of toxins in it, etc. And the starvation, you must know that the alphabet boys, CIA, FBI, etc., negatively impact China, North Korea, Russia. So if we exclude that, and if we exclude the embargoes and the treaties and the tariffs, we have a very watered down, simplified version of geopolitics.
I guess the question is, what's the better solution to what we have here in the U.S., the way we run our business, our free enterprise system and free market. What works better than that?
Well, what works better is a system where people have the opportunity, no matter what their gender, sexual orientation, religion or non-religion, skin color, to rise. What we have in capitalism is we capitalize on people, on females, on darker humans, trees, on water, on native tribes, and even some of the founding fathers of capitalism, one in particular that taught about it, ended up working for the government to help the businesses in Britain.
Capitalism, we haven't had it, free market capitalism as it should work, as like you were talking about, with the opportunities there, no matter who you are or where you came from. That would be free market capitalism. But what we have right now is crony capitalism, and we've been operating under that for a long time. Where that's why we have the 1%, and the gap is getting bigger and bigger. we don't have free market capitalism as it's intended to work. Otherwise, we wouldn't be in a situation that we are where we have a 1%. So we have to, break it down as far as capitalism. You can't just say capitalism is bad, because you can't blanket the statement when there are when there are more kinds of capitalism than as far as the free market, and then crony capitalism or corporate capitalism. That's another one. So, and we have corporate capitalism.
Yeah, from the 50s to 60s and 70s, it's a lot different, right? And my dad, I grew up in an era where you start your own business, and you're a small business owner. I mean, America's comprised mainly of that, with a couple big stores. Now everything's major corporate, and it's all 2 or 3 conglomerates. The 6 media empires that Comcast and Disney and so forth. They own everything. And then you look at football, NFL, AFL, or NFC, AFC, baseball. It's always 2 of whatever, and it's all one big conglomerate. And everything is underneath that. Staples, Office Depot. When I was growing up, like Office Max and Good Guys and Circuit City, all these different things, and they all get eaten up by big corporate. And people who started things like Steve Jobs, well, what happens is the board fires them. Papa John's, his board fired him. You wouldn't have that like 50, 60 years ago. A guy would have his own company he's proud about, and it had there was a certain commitment to excellence and to the customer. And now corporate, all it's about is the bottom line, the dollar. So kind of to the point of our co-host, what we have now is corporate greed, but that's because it's not the spirits of what America was built on. We didn't have like one big superstore when we started. It was a bunch of small independent, the locksmith and the carpenter and the
free market trade
and the no blacks allowed and the lynchings and the Native Indian Trail of Tears. It seems as though maybe some of your perspective of the world is through one eye, but through 2 eyes, you also had child labor. You also had females that couldn't vote and couldn't hold certain jobs. And of course, blacks in most cases couldn't get any of those good jobs. So,
sure,
we have
we said in the 1950s from back then, and there were blacks that owned businesses in the 1950s, and there were blacks that were also in Congress that held office at that time as well. So we can't forget that as well.
Yeah, we can't forget that the sit-ins, because blacks couldn't even, for a long time, from the water fountain, I'm talking about the history of America, not just the 40s, 50s, 60s, but for the 400 plus years. And for many people, they can go back 40, 50 years and say, it was good when my uncle and dad had their business. But if you talk to some actual Native Indians or blacks or Latinos, you may have another perspective and say, wow, it was good for us, but man, you all were suffering. But that's the pride, not seeing the other side.
But not all states had slavery either. I mean, California did not have slavery. And there were a lot of people that had immigrated to California for that reason.
I think you're justifying American slavery by claiming that one state didn't have slavery. Is that what you're saying? And then defending capitalism?
Yeah. I don't put words in my mouth. I never justified it. I'm just saying, when we look at the
you made
picture,
the statement right after my statement about blacks couldn't go to the water fountain and all that. So you're saying, screw that, what he's saying. California didn't have slavery, so there you have it. Hey, America's all good.
That's how you took it. That's how you took it, but that's not what I said.
No, that's how you presented it.
Not having slavery.
You presented it as the great equalizer. Well, forget what Hotap is saying. California didn't have slavery, so therefore, blacks not drinking out of the water fountain, big deal.
All right. So that's how you want to take it. All right, let's see how you are.
True, but you have to
logical fallacy, ma'am. It's not how I want to take it. If you've been busted and because I call your card, now you're playing the logical fallacy card. Oh, that's how you want to take it. Well, if I was talking about females and the suffering of females, and somebody answered, well, not all guys use females, it would be the same BS argument.
Well, if we're having a discussion, I would like to answer some stuff, because you understand the Constitution and our Declaration and Independence is all put together to form a more perfect union. It wasn't a perfect union to
China. China's had slavery into the 19th century. And on it with human trafficking, we still have it at the border.
So again, it's a logical fallacy response. Your claim is that since everybody did X, raped children or killed females, therefore if we do it, it's not that bad. And even your facts are not factual because the Taínos in the Caribbean did not have slaves. Not all African tribes had slaves. You picked on empires that had slaves and created a logical fallacy that, well, everybody did it. Incorrect.
I have no idea. No, that is correct. And by the way, are you a slave? And what slaves do we have in America? Point them out. Well, how many people are black slaves right now? They have chains on and blah, blah, blah.
Now another logical fallacy response. I was responding to the history of America, to which you claimed was so noble and just. My point was simply America is based on stolen land, native land, based on blacks. I'm trying to finish the point. Based on black slaves, because the Irish couldn't do it, and based on child labor, and based on women not having the right to vote. But what some people see is through a prism. They only see, oh, everything was good. They don't see the black slaves that were being raped, the children that were being taken from their families, the pregnant women that were being cut open. That doesn't matter.
Right, because you're being raped right now, right? Because that's what you're living in the past. Everyone has a rape story. Everyone has a exploitation story. The point is that society learns to go. We take the structure of what we have is beautiful if we will use it, if we will grow, if we amend, if we learn from it. And so you're attacking. Do you want to attack the structure? You want to attack human nature? Human nature is always exploited.
You have so many logical fallacies. You want to quote the greatness of America, but then when someone tells you about slavery and the abuse of women and the abuse of natives, suddenly you want to say, oh, why you want to bring that up? Well, you're bringing up the history of America. Am I not allowed in 2021 to say some of the other facts, or will your privilege kick in? And anytime I present some of the pain of other groups, you and your privilege will say, oh, come on, why do you have to bring that up?
What is the privilege? Do you know who I am? You don't even know who I am. I'm Native American Indian, and I'm also Mexican. So you have no idea.
I said your privilege. I didn't say anything about skin color. You have blacks and Mexicans that are privileged also, who are part of the C train that sell out their communities.
Go to Home Depot.
I see. That's who you are. That's how you see things. Okay. And it's not a logical fallacy. I'm just stating my observations.
It's amazing when privileged people hear facts about Native Indian suffering, black suffering, child labor, instead of critiquing capitalism and white supremacy and the coons that work with them, they attack the person that is presenting some historic facts about America, Britain, and Western civilization. They don't want to. They only want to pull on the things that make the white establishment and their coons look good. George Washington, Abraham Lincoln. Oh my goodness, manifest destiny. But they don't want to pull on lynchings and slavery. They want to destroy critical race theory because it shines a light right in their comfortable faces.
Yeah, we learn from our mistakes. We no longer have child labor. There's no more slavery in America. Women can vote. As far as rape goes, well, there's just bad people that do bad things to good people. You know, and that's unfortunate. But that's, I don't know how to solve that problem as far as the rape thing with women and children even, and trafficking children, but as far as learning from our mistakes, we've done that.
No, we haven't, because you just said there's no slavery in America, and there was an amendment to the Constitution that basically made prisoners like slaves. So again, the lack of understanding of your own American history that you claim is so good is so obvious when I hear you two speak. But go on and prove your points again so that they can be smashed down.
Yeah, how can they make prisoners out of slaves? I mean, if you do something bad, you become a prisoner. You were in charge of your own.
The old moving the goalpost trick. You've been busted, so you go to, well, if they do something bad, they deserve to be a slave. It's amazing how superficial and shallow the minds of privileged people are. And when truth comes knocking at the door, they scamper away.
Don't put words in my mouth. You had said prisoners are slaves, so I trust that. I didn't say that.
You did address it, but it was in an illogical manner because you claim slavery didn't exist. I proved to you that the constitutional amendment does have it exist, and then you two clowns say, "Oh, well, are you a slave?" I mean, nonsense. You kind of bring
You
it back.
people like to keep talking over people when they're talking, and it's get louder and louder because you can't argue it. Okay.
No, it's the frustration at hearing people with coonish
No,
and
it's the
racist stuff
frustration. Oh my
after
gosh.
all my life.
See? You don't
On
like
a
it,
show
do
like
you?
this that should have more open-minded people, but some of you are clearly ridiculously
So hang up.
imbecilic.
Nobody's making you stay on the line. Hang up. That's your free will. Hang up.
There's no slavery going on.
So that you can use your banter and your diatribes. So that's your response to my,
So you can do whatever
just
you're
leave the
talking
country.
about.
Just don't
You're
vote.
the one that complained about and being on the line with people who are closed-minded. So hang up. Nobody's making you
How am I
stay
the
on the line.
closed-minded one when you're quoting only one side of American history? How? Do you
Why
leave
did you
off
hang
the
up?
Civil War? No.
Why
Would you
did you
leave
hang
off
up?
the War for Independence? No. But what
Why
you
did
want to
you hang
leave off is the struggles of black
Because
and
you
brown
want to
people in
argue.
America and the struggles of Native Indians and the struggles of people in the third and developing world. We don't exist in your world, and even if you're black and brown, we have a lot of people that are black and brown who ain't down because they're sold out a long time ago or they've been brainwashed. Thank you.
Exercise your free will. Hang up.
Are you hearing impaired? Are you black?
I don't answer that question because when I'm talking to people who clearly, with you two, don't have good intentions, if I say white, you say something negative. If I say black or Asian, you say something negative. So let's say it doesn't matter. What matters is the truth of American history.
Talking about the truth.
See, John, he has a predetermined thing already. He already knows what we're going to say. He knows
I
what
have
our line.
I've developed to predetermine that what you two will say will counter logic and true history because based on your statement, the heuristic has.
I'm ending the live stream because I feel that all the hosts on my show. Hi, everybody. All the hosts on my show are people of color. I have one half Latino, half German. His mother's from Mexico. One Colombian who emigrated here. One black host. I'm the only pure, I wouldn't say pure, I'm the Scandinavian white host. And we have Albert, who is Mexican descent. So with that, I'm going to end the show. I felt like the beginning of the show was more productive. Thank you for listening. Bye-bye.